AFTERBUZZ TV Network. Now the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Biggest Loser After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Biggest Loser After Show.
I love this song. This girl is on fire. Okay, let me stop. This is not karaoke night.
You're going to have to hit the high notes pretty soon.
Bing is for doing, and we are here doing another great episode on AFTERBUZZ TV. This is the after show for my favorite show, The Biggest Loser, Season 14, Episode 11. And it feels so great to be here tonight. It really does. This Alicia Keys is just speaking right through me. We have a special guest in the house. He is an NFL, CFL, cultured athlete. That's what we like to call him, Mr. Brandon London. How are you?
How you guys doing? Thank you for having me on today.
Now, speaking of the cultured athlete, you know, before we jump into our show and do our recap, can you please tell our viewers and our listeners what a cultured athlete is?
A cultured athlete is, you know, an athlete who takes their A game from off the, on the field and incorporates it into their everyday lifestyle. What I like to call the cultured athlete lifestyle. So, you know, you've got fitness, you've got fashion, you've got business, you've got social media and philanthropy, entertainment, you know, those type of things. And, you know, fitness and The Biggest Loser, they go hand in hand.
They really do. And I thought it would be a great fit for you to come in and talk about fitness because we do have an athlete on the show who you thought that was one of your favorite contestants on the show.
Yeah, I felt like I could really connect to Joe. Yeah. You know, he played at one of my favorite colleges, FSU.
Nice. Wow. Shout out to FSU. And shout out to UMass. Me and Brandon, we both went to UMass together. So.
Very cool. Yeah. UMass.
Alumni. Nice. So thank you for being on the show. We're going to have a great show. You in the house. My favorite host as well. Introduce yourself.
Thank you. Hi, guys. I'm Lauren Mendoza.
And I'm James Wallington.
Yes, it feels good to be back. And if this is your first time tuning in, I'm Fallon Mercedes. And let's jump into it because it was a great episode, as it usually is. But there was one in particular thing about this episode that I feel that we all probably connected to. It was the reflection. You know, this is the part of the season before the big finale where the trainers got to sit down with each contestant and really got to reflect and see the self-improvement. And what I loved the most, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it right now, was the video that they had the contestants do talking to their future selves. Yeah. That touched me the most because they don't even know what their future selves are going to be, but they know that it's not going to be where they were. Exactly. They knew that they were going to transform, and they didn't want to be that same person that they were. They wanted to change. So to see them speak into their future selves and to see the transformation that they had, it just spoke right through me. What did you guys think about that?
Well, I love that they incorporated the kids in this reflection because, you know, throughout this season, we've been kind of watching these kids and we're like, are there any changes? Because they're always wearing those baggy sweatshirts and you can't really tell the progression of their body. I loved just seeing the kids' reflection and their transformation throughout this journey.
We did see a little, well, for me, I could tell with Bingo. He was the only one that I could really tell because his cheeks, he has those cute, puffy cheeks, and they were starting to come down. But, you know, it wasn't just a reflection or a big change on the children, but even their parents and within their homes. And Bingo's mom was saying she went down 5 dress sizes.
I know, not 5 pounds, 5 dress sizes.
That is intense. Lo, what do you think about, you know, the mom getting inspired by little Bingo?
Well, I think that's part of the point. And I think, you know, that was the benefit in actually keeping the kids at home. And also I think that's why you don't see as much of a weight loss difference in them as you do in the contestants. Obviously, these kids aren't working out to the extreme that the contestants are. But the thing with these kids and that they've been stressing from day one, and that, you know, part of the message to the audience is that weight loss starts at home.
Yes.
And for these kids, if they're ever going to be successful in this, it needs to start with their parents, because their parents are the ones that are buying the food and putting it on the table. You know, their parents are the ones that are letting them sit there and play video games, you know? And so I think seeing that Bingo's mom made this transformation as well, that is exactly what needed to happen.
I so agree. It really does start off in the home.
I really agree with that, because being fit, living healthy, it's a lifestyle. And for kids, they don't know any better. You know, they only know what their parents are making them, or if they're stopping from a baseball game and they're stopping at McDonald's, that's all they know. They can't prepare food for themselves. So to have their parents, you know, as involved the way they were, you know, that's only going to help the kids out, you know, and especially in America, we need stuff like that. We need a lot more stuff like that.
And you know, seeing that also really gives me hope for them too.
Yes.
Because let's say as if we watched their transformation and then we saw their parents and nothing really changed at home, or maybe they were still the same, I would really worry about how are they going to continue their journey. If you know what I mean, like you don't want it to just be this time period because they're on The Biggest Loser, because they're reporting to these trainers,
right?
You know, because they have cameras around. You know, seeing Bingo's mom's transformation makes you realize that it's a physical change. It happened in the home, and that together they're going to be able to move forward.
Yeah,
and that's why I liked what Bob had to say. It's a ripple effect, and I think that's the whole goal of The Biggest Loser, is just to. It's like a domino effect, the ripple effect.
It definitely is.
Great to see that.
It's definitely a community. I even know for myself growing up, you know, I'm half Dominican, and we cooked so much Spanish food. That was our way to, you know, connect. Yeah, exactly. Your rice and your beans and all that great, exactly, all that great stuff. And my father, you know, he even owned a bunch of businesses, and one of the businesses that me and my brother specifically we ran was a fried chicken business. Now, when I graduated from college, my dad gave us the business to take over, and my brother gained 50 pounds, and I had gained a lot of weight as well. And I said to myself, I was like, this cannot be. You know, we are young. We should not let our lives and the way we're living, it shouldn't be like this.
Right.
So I started working out a lot, and then I loved it so much that I even, you know, was telling my brother, you should start working out with me. I started cooking different food in the home, no more fried chicken, no more Spanish food, and I lost 20 pounds. My brother lost 55 pounds. Then other people started coming to me, you know, how did you lose the weight? And I started, you know, oh, well, you can train with me. They're like, you should go get certified. I ended up getting certified, and that's what the ripple effect was. Like, it first started with me, then my brother, and then other people. So, you know, just cooking healthier foods at home, you know, instead of, you know, reaching for the canned goods that are filled with sodium or, you know, any of that stuff. Try to, you know, reach for, you know, vegetables that are not in a can, you know.
That's so hard to eat healthy. It's so hard to eat healthy. So, I mean, I think something needs to be done on that end as well. Like healthier foods tend to taste nastier. So, you know, people are not going to want to eat, fried broccoli or something like that. No, somebody needs to make something very delicious.
You know what it is?
Want to eat healthy.
It's really retraining your taste buds, because now, you know, I recently went out the other night and my friends were like, oh, let's go to Roscoe's. I think Roscoe's chicken, and I'm sorry, but to me it doesn't taste good anymore. I used to love it when I first, but it's so greasy and it doesn't do it for me. I like healthier foods now. I'm starting to reach for healthier foods because I retrained my taste buds. That's what you have to do. Just like working out, it's so painful at first, but you start to get through the pain and you start to like it. And that's what you need. You need to retrain yourself. So don't worry, Mr. Cultured Athlete. I'm going to retrain you to be able to like healthier foods.
I don't think I like soybeans.
I cooked salmon for you.
That was good. And the tacos with the turkey sauce.
What the heck? I'm hungry, Fallon.
That's what I'm going to do.
Some food right here in front of us.
Cultured Athlete.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start cooking healthier foods and invite all you guys to come on over.
I'm coming.
All right, so let's get back to the contestants sitting down with the different trainers. How about we go around and we talk about our favorite contestant and what touched you about their story and their transformation?
Ooh, that's hard.
Well, for me, it's a no-brainer. I've had such a connection with Gina outside of the show, being able to talk to her on Facebook and kind of get a little inside scoop from her, that it was just so great to see her transformation throughout this entire season. And I just seeing that and just seeing that much joy on her face and no longer feeding into fear, that to me was just really uplifting and inspiring to see her and her vulnerability throughout this entire progress.
Watching her again and to hear her again talk about her husband and her, you know, visualizing herself dying due to her weight and seeing her husband marry off to a younger, prettier girl, it just kills me. And I've heard her say it before, but that it's so sad. Yeah. It's so sad. So it's really nice to see her and, you know, in a different state, like physically and mentally.
I also really loved Jackson's. The fact that, you know, he came out at such a young age.
Yeah.
I think I came out when I was 17. 9th grade, you're like, what, 14?
Yeah.
Unreal. And that's so respectable. And it's sad that he had to put on the weight just because he didn't feel like there was really a community that he could turn to with feeling, you know, secure with his sexuality and who he is as a person. So I love Jackson's story too, and I'm pulling for him too.
Jackson as well. Well, you took Gina from me. Now you took Jackson. I'm gonna co-sign on the Jackson. I'm gonna co-sign on the Jackson just because, like you said, the psychological factors of, you know, coming out. I've had a younger sister. She's come out and stuff like that, and just the psychological factors that they deal with, and that forced him to eat. And now he's kind of used that as motivation now. It's used that as an empowering thing. And you just see, I feel like he's lost like all that weight. He looks good for what he started off with that 11 weeks earlier. So, you know, I'm very proud that he would take that and, you know, use that for the good.
Right.
I have to go with my girl Danny. I mean, I've been with the white team. I have been Team Jillian from day one. I was so frightened in the beginning when they were just dropping like flies, and then there was just Danny, our little Danny. She wasn't little, but there was just Danny, and I was just praying every week that she would not go home and that she would stick it out. And I'm telling you, this girl, if there's a girl that can win it, she's going to be the one.
Yeah.
So watching her transformation.
Well, she's the only one, right? The only girl.
Well, oh, that's right.
That is, yeah.
That's very true. But, I mean, just watching her throughout the season, I've always been really attached to her. And I've, you know, from the beginning, we've noticed in the challenges, this girl's an athlete, you know, and just seeing her every challenge, she just proves that even more. And so, and I used to be an athlete, so watching, like, it just reminds me of my glory days.
That's exactly
like, I'm like,
how I feel.
Like, get it, you know, because I used to do that, and it makes me so badly want to do that again, and maybe I can. But watching her has been so inspiring, and this particular episode, just seeing and reflecting back on that journey, makes me love her 10 times more. And the cool thing about Danny, and you must know that we did play that Alicia Keys in honor of Danny, because they played that in the episode if you watched, and it was so fitting because that girl is totally on fire. But Danny, she met with Dr. H in this episode, and in addition to just losing all the weight that she's already lost, she's gained 19 pounds of muscle. Like, that just goes to show you how strong she is. And when we saw her in this episode lifting Jillian above her head,
that was crazy.
I mean, you just saw the animal in her. And in all the contestants, I think, in this episode, you really saw that in them. But Danny, like, she just makes me so happy. I want to be friends with Danny. Yes. I want to hang with Danny. I want to work out with Danny.
She wants, it's going to be a trio.
Jillian,
Danny,
can I just
Jillian
get in there somehow?
Awesome. I think we all have a connection with all of the contestants. Like, I'm sitting here trying to think, okay, I connect with Danny, I connect with Jeff, and I also connect with Jackson, and I know you spoke of him, so did you. But one thing I did like that he said on this episode that kind of touched me was, he said that he was worth it, and he was feeling worthless throughout the episode. He said, you know, weight loss is 100% mental. You have to want it more than a cupcake. You have to want it more than just sitting on the couch and not going to the gym. You have to want it more than anything, and it is so true. Like, it's all up to you. It's right in front of you. You have to go out and get it. Nobody's going to work out for you. Nobody can do it for you. You have to do it for yourselves. So to see all these contestants want it so bad and make it happen, it's just amazing. Like today, watching this episode made me realize why I signed up for this episode to do the season in the first place. I wanted to do a show that was positive. I wanted to do a show that inspires other people and inspires me, and something that I love. And I really do love fitness, and this is why, because it can change lives.
Yes.
It changes lives. We've seen, Lindsay on the show today, and she met with the doctor. She was pre-diabetes. She's not even an adult yet, and the doctor told her today, guess what? You are no longer up for diabetes. You are no longer at risk for diabetes. You don't have pre-diabetes. You are not at risk anymore. How much of a relief for her and her family to hear that. It's amazing what this show can really do. And I hope those of you out there listening, you find it deep inside yourself. You find that why. Why do you want to do this? You've seen them all talking today of why. I want to do it because I was bullied when I was younger, and people treated me like I wasn't worth it, but you are worth it. You got to figure out, somebody passed away in your family, and, maybe it was a father, a mother, anybody, and they put the weight on your shoulders, and maybe, you felt it was too heavy, but guess what? You are strong. You can do it. You have to find your why. And if you need a community, thebiggestloser.com, we have an AFTERBUZZ team. You can even contact me on Twitter, Miss Mercedes. Like, we can do this. This is life-changing.
Yeah. To go back to what you were saying, though, about Lindsay, one of the biggest moments in that little scene was, you saw Lindsay really celebrate when the doctor told her that she was no longer pre-diabetic. Yep. But Dolvett quickly reminded her that could change.
Oh, yes.
You need to hold on to that. You cannot go back to your behaviors because you go back to those behaviors and you're just going to be right back where you started. Right. So he wanted to quickly remind her of that. And the one thing that Dolvett said that really stuck out to me, and it kind of goes to what you're saying about like finding your why. There are people that maybe weren't bullied. There are people that maybe have had a great upbringing, or maybe don't have that. No one passed in their family. They're not doing it to make somebody proud. You still have a why. And it's just about yourself. Whether you have the best life and you're loved by so many other people, you still need to just do it for yourself, to stay healthy, just to be able to live life and love life. And Dolvett said something. He said, we don't see our organs, so we don't know what we're doing to them. And to me, I was just like, that is so true. And I've thought about that so many times. And I just think that alone, if you have nothing else that's really pushing you to exercise, just knowing that you don't know what you're doing to your body. You may think you're really skinny and you don't need to work out, but you don't really know what you're doing to your insides when you're not eating right, or when you're living a sedentary lifestyle. So I think just reminding yourself of that every day, should be, I think, motivation enough to just push yourself a little bit of the extra step, or just make a healthier choice when you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
speaking of reminding, I want to remind you guys out there, if you are on iTunes or you're watching us on YouTube or on AFTERBUZZTV.com, please tell a friend, remind a friend, to subscribe to us, watch us online. We do the show because we're big fans, and I know you guys are too. This is where we come together to talk about it, to celebrate with them, to be inspired. So please tell a friend, comment, subscribe. And
rate us 5 stars.
Yes, we appreciate you guys. We really do. All right, so let's move on. We had a big challenge this episode, and it was the mountain challenge. I loved it. I love that and I know they do this every season, but what they do is they do a challenge where all the weight that each contestant had lost, they make them put it back on. So what they did is they had each contestant, they would have to bring a sled up the hill, up the mountain, and they had to take on all the weight that they lost and put it back on their sled and carry it up. And I was thinking, wow, some of these contestants have lost a whole lot of weight. Who are you worried about going up the hill with the sled?
I'll tell you the truth. At first, it was, my girl Gina. I wanted to make sure that that ankle, that foot was okay. But she seemed, like she said, she was the smallest one out of the entire group. So I figured yes, everyone had more pounds that they were going to put on, but I figured that was going to motivate them more, you know. And with the way that Joe and Danny handled it toward the end, and you saw how the music was going, and she was like, "I can do this," and it had me pumped, made me want to go do some push-ups or something like that. But yeah, I was worried about Gina, but I liked how Jackson went all the way back and motivated her, because it was like you said, it goes back to being a community. It goes back to having to, you know, use other people, use motivation and different type of techniques to get you to push through that pain, to get you up off that couch. So I was very excited, you know, to see her finish at the end.
With Gina's foot being injured, I know that must be a mental distraction when you are trying to compete. Have you ever been injured and had to play ball and be under that same circumstance where you had to perform, but, you know, with restrictions?
Yes, well, this past year in Canada, I sprained my MCL, you know, and I was out 4 games from it, and I had to wear a knee brace, and I was always worried, you know, when I came back, would I be just as fast, would I be as quick, and that cripples you for a little bit. They say 50% is 80% mental, 20% physical. You know, if you're not playing football, if you're not flying around, it's only because there's a mental block in your head. You don't think you're as good as what, you know, what you're used to being or whatever. So when you get that block out and you're flying around and you're playing the game, you know, 100%, and you're playing the game that you love, then it just, you can see the difference. So anytime you have any type of mental injury or whatever, you could use it as an excuse, you could use it as a cripple, or you could use it as a self-motivator.
Yeah, and I think Gina used it as a self-motivator because we seen her just going hard up that hill with all the weight. Who did you guys enjoy watching, you know, go up the hill, trucking their sleds of weight?
Well, I mean, it's so obvious the last like 5 episodes, there's been this huge competition between Danny and Joe. And I knew that was going to be a main focus of this challenge, because it's like neck and neck. Who's going to win? And they've been battling in every challenge against each other head to head. So that to me was probably the most exciting part about that entire challenge. It's like, who was going to win? I was really hoping with the way it was edited that Danny was going to be able to like take that final sprint.
You know, I was a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie. I felt like we've seen her really step up, especially at the end. And for me, she just didn't do it. I kind of feel like she gave up. You know, it probably got in her head mentally.
I don't think she gave up, because when they were showing like Jackson and Jeff and those guys finished, she was still laid out on the snow, like passed out. And then
she was dying.
Like Weekend at Bernie's, her body just popped up real quick. But yeah, it looked like she gave everything she had.
I don't know. I feel like she didn't, because I've seen what she can do. And then, you know, her last minute workout with Jillian, she was giving up again. And I'm like, what are you doing, Danny? Hello?
Well, maybe that challenge got into her head for that last chance workout. It was the first time, and I couldn't agree with you more, James, because when you asked Fallon, like, who were you worried about? In my head, I'm thinking, I wasn't worried about anybody, because my girl Danny pulls through every time. But all I was worried about or concerned about was, okay, it's always Danny and Joe, neck on neck, or whatever they say. And I wanted her to win this again. And Joe would never beat her. And that's all I wanted. And I kind of agree with you. Watching her, it looked like, is she giving up? It doesn't look like she's really trying. Like you thought in that last moment that she would just like sprint to the finish. But I don't think we really understand how difficult that challenge was. Like you're in the snow. You may be giving your all and you are just dragging.
And the elevation is different too, because they're on a mountain for the first time rather than a ranch that's like pretty flat.
So that was my only concern, was I wasn't worried. I knew Danny was not going to be last unless if something horrible happened. I was more concerned of, is she going to win? Because I want her to win, because she wins every time.
Right.
Yes. One person I was concerned about was Jackson. Jackson, from day one, has been hurling every single episode. And it is kind of amusing, but to me, I was thinking this could really slow him down if he has one of these hurling attacks.
As long as he keeps going as he's vomiting, he's all good.
I didn't want to see him throw up on the snow. I really did. I was really hoping he did not throw up this episode.
I honestly, I feel bad for him because he's been working so hard. I wonder, you know, if there's an actual like disorder
Like a
that
condition.
he has. Yeah, like a condition when he exerts himself too much that is causing him to vomit. I'm surprised that the doctor hasn't talked to him about it because what I think, say if he wins the whole thing, okay, I do not want to see him hurl on stage as he wins it all.
He gets so excited.
Exactly. How embarrassing will that be?
Oh my gosh.
I think he's vomiting because he still has so much weight to lose.
I
You
agree.
think so?
You know what I mean? Like, he has made a major transformation. They all have. But, like, you look at Danny and you're like, okay, well, that girl's getting fit.
Yes.
You know, you look at Joe. You could see he's an athlete. You could see his muscle definition. Then there's Jackson. And Jackson is still... It still looks
There.
like, yeah, like it's not muscle yet. You know,
Yeah.
he's still in the process of losing that fat. And that fat is not good. Yeah,
You
we
know
saw
what?
the whole...
That's good for him though.
Yeah, of
Because after
course.
this, he's gonna continue to strive to to get even more lean and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
He's not just gonna leave the show and then go sit around eating bonbons or anything. Which I don't
hope
think
not.
any of them are. I don't think any of them are.
Let's hope not, because
know.
you do see in the seasons that people will gain their weight back.
It's losing the weight is one thing. Keeping it off is an entirely different
Right.
task.
Yeah.
They should make a show off of that.
Right.
You guys should be trainers.
We're doing it. We're
Done.
pitching it to NBC. We're taking all the old Biggest Loser contestants, and we're going to do a like sequel.
Let's do it. I know.
I'm in.
All stars.
Dolvet had said something in this episode that kind of pertains to that. He said, it's easier to slow down than speed up. Behavior defines your life. And, you know, it's just go to show you that, you know, right now they're doing so well. They're running the race. But it's so easier to get off track than it is to fight even harder. So he's saying, once you guys leave the ranch, you guys have to go hard.
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to be easy, especially when you're home.
Yeah, you probably have to go harder than you did when you were
Definitely.
there.
You have to speed up.
Luckily, you have that motivation, you have the mindset, and you know now that you can do it, and you kind of have to use that to fuel yourself. But you know, you're not going to have Bob, you're not going to have Jillian, and let's say you give yourself a week off or whatever, you need to be disciplined to let that week pass and then get right back into it. And I think that's where people tend to fail, is that they give themselves a little break and then maybe they don't push themselves harder and just slowly, you know, oh, I'll take another little break. Oh, I'm just going to let myself have this. I work really hard. I deserve it. You know, so it's kind of about keeping that mentality and knowing what's worth it.
I love that shirt Bob had on. What was it?
I love that.
3 days
I
on,
just
1
love
days
Bob
off,
in general,
365.
I love Bob with his shirt on or off. That's what you're thinking.
exactly
I
what
love
I'm
Bob. Bob's so great. He is pretty great.
I'm just thinking of Dolvet right now. But anyways, let's go into the final weigh-in.
Wait, we did talk about who won that challenge.
Yeah, we
That's
did.
right. Okay.
The final weigh-in, it just has you on edge, especially when they go to the commercials. It kills me.
I know.
But one thing I did not like about this weigh-in that they haven't done in other weigh-ins, this weigh-in they kept their shirts on.
Yeah.
And it really bugs me because I'm like, no, I
Take
want
it
to
off.
see the progress, you
That
know?
was
Yeah.
weird, too.
And what they want to do, and Lo, you had said it, you know, they just want to set it up so the grand finale, it's more of a difference.
Yeah. More
So
of
they
shock
kind of,
value.
yeah, they want us to.
Yeah.
Even in the finale, they don't
take off their shirt. I was just gonna
So
say that.
why
You're
do
right.
they keep the
Who
shirts
knows?
on?
Now they want to keep it private. I don't know.
Now that
they
they're
want to keep it
skinny,
personal.
right?
I know,
now that
right?
they're skinny, because the first episode I watched, I was like, oh wow, you have a lot of confidence. Even
I know.
sometimes when I'm at the gym, I don't want to take my shirt off,
Right.
and here they are, you know,
Wow,
up there.
I'd be taking it off at this point. I'd be like, even if they were telling me no, I'd be like,
Exactly.
no, I am taking it off.
I
They had
know,
to see
right?
me when I didn't want to take it off. Taking it off now.
Exactly. About this weigh-in, something that you know we haven't seen before is that there was the red line and the yellow line. Now the red line was. Can you explain it more?
Automatic
Yeah,
elimination.
If you fell below the red line, you were automatically eliminated. And if you were to fall into the yellow line, which there was going to be 2 contestants that would fall into the yellow line, that means you are up to be voted out. But rather than the contestants voting this time, which is normally what happens, it's
no,
left.
I don't think so.
Well, I mean, like
thought-
on the last episodes when they go under the yellow line, the team votes who they want to leave. But this time for the finale, America is voting who they think should be a finalist.
Okay.
So that's really, there's a lot at stake with this weigh-in.
There is.
I got cramps just from sitting there. I was so anxious just watching this whole thing unfold. Ay, ay, ay.
All right, so Lo, fill us in with the final weigh-in. I know you have all the numbers in front of you.
All the numbers.
So let's hear it. Give it to us.
Okay, so first we have Joe come up, and they preface it by saying, Joe, you came here at 364. That is just still amazes me. So he steps on there having weighed 244 previously and steps down at 239, only losing 5 pounds, and everybody is really shocked. And it was funny because Joe was the one that said, you know, I just think the more I'm losing, the harder it's going to be to lose. Yeah. And Bob did not let that fly.
I was very surprised at Bob.
Really?
I was surprised that he just attacked him like that. I thought that he would be proud of him because, like, you know, with who was it? Danny. She has 19 pounds of muscles that she put on.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel the same thing with him.
Joe,
he looks so good. Me and you were like, wow, your wife is going to be so happy with you when you go home. He is looking slim and he trimmed his beard.
Yeah.
I am like,
she better be working too.
Exactly.
Right? I'd be like scared. If I saw my husband and he was looking that good, I'd be like, oh man, I better get on it.
I just don't see it. But
I honestly feel that he might have only lost 5 pounds of fat, but he has definitely gained so much muscle.
Well, you know, Bob put it into perspective, and I think the reason why Bob jumped on him so quickly was because he doesn't want anybody to, at this point, start making excuses.
Yeah.
good point.
You know, and start letting yourself slide. And what he said, which I kind of thought was like, I don't know if you want to say this on TV, but Bob doesn't hold back. He's like, I've seen you with your shirt off. You still have a lot to lose. And I was like, oh, how
Landed
sad.
on thick.
I know. Basically calling him still like chubby. So he just said, no, you know, with the amount of weight that you still have to lose, 5 pounds is not a good number for you.
I'm looking at Brandon. It looks like he has something juicy to say. Go ahead, jump in.
I can see why Bob hopped on him, and I can see why we're talking excuses because, you know, with him being a former athlete, he probably thinks that, you know, maybe if he goes back home and he slacks off a little bit, I know as a former athlete I can work out again and, you know, lose this again. So, like you said, there's no time for excuses right now. There's absolutely no time for excuses or bad habits. But a lot of people don't know, once athletes are finished playing, we run risk of so many like heart diseases and stuff like that. The heart is a muscle, you know, and we're this great conditioned athletes for however long we're playing. But as soon as your playing days are over, you have to keep up with it. Like you have to continue to be active, play basketball, swim, or do something. And I'm surprised he got up to 360 something pounds, but. It's common.
But it's funny that you say that. I've noticed that. I know a lot of football players who have been retired for years, and I look at them and I would think I would never have guessed that you have played any professional sport because they are so out of weight. To me, even some of them, you know, more out of weight than the average man.
Yeah.
The guys that are on TV now, like the Michael Strahans and those guys, those big guys, they slim down. You know, you see those guys on TV, but people who are like, oh, you know, I don't care, you know, I don't want to play ball anymore.
And where they're not on TV to feel the pressure to work out.
Yeah, but the ones that are on TV, you know, they're still training.
Yeah.
They might be doing different kinds of training. Maybe they're not lifting the way that they were, so maybe they're doing a little bit more cardio, you know, and maybe that's how they slim down. But also they also have the fact that they are on TV to keep them motivated. Maybe they have a trainer, you know, and not everybody has that later on. So it's really just about self-motivation, I think. So he just, you know, we don't want to see Joe making those excuses.
You're cultured athlete. Yeah,
that's right.
I see you.
So then we have Jackson step on the scale, and last week he was at 235, and Jackson already kind of called it out that he saw Joe go up there losing only 5 pounds. He's been eating pretty much the same stuff as Joe has, and Joe pulls big numbers. So he was already worried, and same story. He loses 5 pounds. He's only at 230, and everybody's just kind of devastated for him.
Yeah, I was disappointed.
Yeah, what did you guys think about that?
I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. At this point, I was just hoping that Gina could pull a big number.
You're like, I don't care about anybody else. Yeah.
But that was my mentality.
Yeah,
I was worried about Gina.
Seeing Jackson get emotional, I felt it. I was just like, I've seen him. We have all seen him work hard, so it was just kind of disappointing to see that he only pulled 5 pounds.
He's got the most inspirational story as well, too. Yeah. So I thought that, you know, he would really pull through and way more than 5 pounds. I was kind of disappointed in that.
But the thing with Jackson is this entire season, season, you don't know what to expect because he's pulled 13, he's pulled 2. You know, he's pulled, no, he didn't. He wasn't the one that pulled 0. But, you know, for his weight, I feel like he hasn't always pulled these huge numbers, you know? So at the same time, it's like I was surprised, but then again, I kind of wasn't surprised. I don't know what to expect with him. Then your girl Gina gets on.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about Gina?
Well, Gina.
Dang, Gina.
Damn, Gina.
Gina got up on the scale at 163 pounds. And of course, with the 2 guys that went ahead of her losing 5 pounds, I was a little nervous.
Especially with her foot.
Yeah, her foot, and she's a tiny girl. And
How tall is she? She looks so small.
5'4"? I don't know. Maybe shorter because I'm
exactly
5'6".
What I was thinking. 5'4", 5'3", maybe.
I don't know.
5 feet.
Then maybe she's 5 feet.
She looks a little like me.
She's tiny.
I don't feel bad for her because I feel like she's a winner in my book. You know,
Yeah,
they were
of
showing
course.
the B-roll footage of her having the mask on her face and
The sleep apnea, man.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, come on now, like 2 pounds, whatever. Go home with a smile on your face. Go beat your husband up the stairs and stuff like that. She saved her life and she just saved the marriage. So
Yeah,
she really just saved the marriage.
Amen.
So
She definitely did.
That was huge.
What were her numbers? Let's
Well,
hear it.
she lost 2 pounds. That puts her at 161 pounds on the scale.
Yeah.
I was a little disappointed. And again, she had a lot of airtime tonight on the show.
You
And
knew it. You called
you know
it.
the magic of editing. And so I was predicting that it was her
That she
time
would
to
go
go.
home.
But who knows? There's 2 other people to still weigh in.
Yeah, I know. And that made me really worried for Danny.
yeah.
You know? So Danny gets up on the scale and she, I guess, started Biggest Loser at 258 and weighed in last week at 174 and was 163. She lost 11 pounds.
Neck to neck with Jackson.
No,
Yeah.
Jeff.
No,
Jeff. Yep, sorry
Jeff.
about that.
At 11.
Oh, I'm sorry, did we skip Jeff? Oh,
Yeah, we
sorry. Well, Danny hit 11 pounds. I was excited. I was just like blown away because that's a big number.
And she looks like she doesn't have any more
Yeah.
weight
And that's
to
the
lose,
thing.
which
I
is
was
a
really
shocker.
worried about her because, like Joe, you know, those 2, they look great.
Yeah.
To me, they are like right there where
Yeah.
they need to be. And if he pulled low numbers, I was like, this is it. She's going to pull
Yeah.
low numbers. And then, you know, right before the commercial, we see Jillian hit the floor. And I'm like, oh, no.
I know. I was so worried. I thought it wasn't gonna. I thought it was gonna be 0.
Yeah.
Especially having learned that she gained 19 pounds of muscle. You know,
Yes.
what if she's at that point where she's gaining muscle faster than she is losing fat? I mean, I don't know if that could be the case, but anything could happen on The Biggest Loser.
No, that,
so after
that could
Gina,
be the case.
Yeah.
Have we seen anybody this season go up on the
No.
scale?
Nope.
And you know, I just thought of that. Usually,
Surprising.
yeah, sometimes some seasons we'll see that because muscle does weigh more than fat. And some
Yeah.
weeks you actually put on more muscle. So
Yeah.
I was surprised that, you know, we even seen how much she lost considering where she's at in the game right now.
So to go back to Jeff, who actually came after Gina, he steps up there and he was at 276 last week, lost 265. He lost 11 pounds as well. And Bob, just like,
Lost
it's
it.
so emotional. Yeah,
When Bob gets emotional, I get emotional.
we all get emotional. Yeah, that was a big moment
James,
for
speak
him.
on that. You seem a little emotional right now just thinking
Wait,
on it.
no! Oh my gosh!
okay,
I think I'm just a little tired. No,
I was
but
like, I see
truthfully-
your eyes glistening over here.
I really loved, you know, the tender moment between Jeff and Bob that they had, you know, because Jeff lost his dad, and Bob has been kind of this father figure to Jeff. And Jeff, again, had never really opened up until halfway through the season to
I know.
Jillian. So I don't even
To
think Bob,
anybody, it seems
right,
like.
but I don't think even Bob knew his story yet until the whole reflection montage, and that's why Bob was all like, "Wow, I'm really touched and moved by your story," and that whole dialogue between the two of them really was touching. I
Bob
think.
was like crying the entire
Yeah.
episode. Like at one point, pretty sobbing. Like he was sobbing at some point.
And he even said in the little teaser, like, this is what's going to come up after the commercials. It was the Biggest Loser first, apparently, that Bob just never, like, breaks down like that and shows his vulnerability to his
I love it. I was on Jeff's Twitter while this was all going down.
Yeah.
And he was tweeting, I started from the bottom, now I'm here. And he's talking about, you know, making the final round.
Yep.
And he also said, you know it's real when you have a man-to-man talk on the front porch. And he was referring to his talk with Bob.
That's so cute.
He favorited my tweet just now. I'm a nerd.
And you know what was cute too? I see Francelina tweeting him too. I was like, they are still in love.
What are they called? Jeffalina?
Jeffalina, yes.
Jeffalina.
So let me catch Brandon up and other people up. So there was another contestant on the show. She was beautiful. Her name was Francelina, and she just got sent home a couple weeks ago. But they had a little romance going on, and it was so cute because they were motivating each other. They found, the struggle and their stories and their whys and one another, and was able to push through it and find love. So it was really sad when she went home because we kind of wanted to see that develop more. But it's nice to know that she's at home, tweeting him and supporting him and still showing him love.
She actually, I think, Instagrammed a photo of her and Jeff, and when he went to his hometown, or when he was in that 2-week period where they get to go home, he went and visited her.
Wow.
So she took a little picture with him. But you know what's interesting about that relationship is that they didn't reveal it until she was going home. Until we saw that he didn't want to vote her off.
Exactly.
Because they have a little love thing going on. Yeah.
But
that was interesting.
It's true when Jeff said, started from the bottom, now I'm here, because he really is here. He started from his, family's basement, overweight, and now he's on top on The Biggest Loser, going into the finale, and a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So go, Jeff.
Serious. He's been, he is someone that surprises me. Like, if you would have told me in the beginning that he would have been here at the end, I don't know if I would have believed you, because he was so defensive, and
he was defensive with your girl Jillian.
With Jillian, and he just sometimes didn't want to listen to the trainers, and he didn't seem very happy, which, I guess I can understand why. He was carrying so much emotionally. So he is someone in this entire season that I feel has made the biggest transformation, not just physically, but emotionally. All of a sudden you see him smiling.
Yep.
And I feel like you said, halfway through the season, it wasn't until then that you actually saw him open up to people and seem happy. And now he just seems like he's over the moon.
Yeah, I tell you, losing weight is mental and physical. And as a trainer, I have so many clients that come to me. They know how to work out. I've taught them what they had to know. They've lost all the weight, and they still come to me because it's kind of like, we see the trainers talking to them. They're kind of like their psychologists or their therapists.
100%.
And they want that motivation, that emotional connection, that therapeutic time when they have that one-on-one hour with them. So I can so understand how before Jeff was not in a happy place, and it was not just physically, it was mentally too. And I think Bob and the other trainers really helps him break down that wall, especially Jillian. She was tough on him, but he needed that wall to be broken down to really find the strength within himself to know that he could do it, that he is worth it.
I think everybody needs a little bit of Jillian in their life, personally.
I agree.
But you know what about that whole training thing? I think what it is for most people, these contestants included, is that everybody really at some point, well, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people at some point just need that other person to look them in the face and tell them that they can do it. Because like you said, people know how to exercise, but you have that self-doubt, or you think maybe I can't get there quick enough, or I'm going to fail, or I'm going to start something and I'm going to give up. You, at some point, maybe just need that person staring you straight in the face saying, no, you can do it. That actually pushes you.
Yeah, I'm sure that probably plays a big part in being an athlete. You have these coaches who have won so many rings, and they'll keep on coming back to coach because they know how to inspire and probably be there for their athletes. Have you ever experienced that, where you've had a great coach that really helps you take your athletic abilities to the next level, more than physical but mental?
Well, my past coach this past year, Mark Tressman, he just got the Chicago Bears job, actually.
Wow, congrats.
My 3 years up there with him in Canada, I've never been around a coach who stressed accountability so much. Learning how to be accountable for your actions on the field, off the field. What you do off the field affects what you do on the field, which in turn affects how you play affects you or my teammate or stuff like that. And you never look at that, especially a younger athlete. I always thought about me, like, if I go out and I need to, ball out so I can be flashy, blah, blah, blah. But you never thought about, I need to go out there and win because this guy lining up next to me wants to win just as much as I want to win. And Mark Tressman really taught me that. And, the days where I wanted to skip workouts or not go in, wake up early and go work out, you don't think about, you're losing or your competitors are gaining the edge on you. You're thinking about it as I'm letting one of my boys down, you know, I'm letting one of my teammates down, and I'm like, all right, cut the Xbox off, you know, and then go off and go work out, you know, and I can only imagine what these people are going through, man. Like, I'm 211 pounds, and I've always been considered skinny as a professional athlete, so I've had to train to get faster, to, you know, to get bigger, to get stronger. These people, they're working out for their livelihoods, you know, they're training to live, you know, for their marriage and self-worth and to prove to themselves. And that right there, that was pretty motivational right there, to sit back and listen to the Jillians and all that, because everyone needs to be coached. You know, Jerry Rice is the greatest wide receiver of all time. He still listened to his coaches. He still, you know, took coaching well, took instruction well. So anytime you have a motivator like that, that's positive, that can get you to tap into that inside thing, that thing that's burning you inside. For Jackson, it was the coming out. For let's see,
Jeff, it was his father.
Jeff, it was his father.
Gina, it was her husband.
For Danny, it was, you know, everyone.
For Joe, it was the athlete that he used to be. You
tap into that.
To your why.
It's over. It's over after that.
And I believe that is one reason why this show is so successful. 14 seasons later, it's because we have trainers on this show that really motivate and inspire and bring that why out of, you know, the contestants who turn into athletes. And I love that. I think it was Bob who said it this show. He said, you know, these athletes on the show, because that's what they are. 11 weeks later, they are no longer just contestants. They are athletes.
If you could work out that hard for that many hours a day, you're an athlete. You are an athlete. Jackson, you are an athlete. Easily. Hey,
you disagree?
You can train as an athlete. If I threw him a football, would he catch it? That'll make him an athlete. But I see what you're saying.
Not every sport catches a ball. Like, you could be a track
I was a
star.
gymnast. I was a competitive gymnast.
Come
I never caught any balls.
Think outside of that.
Really?
We'll talk about that another day.
Okay.
Right now,
Me
that
and
is a whole
Brandon
other
are going to have to go outside and have a little talk to talk, but right now we will finish
Stay
up,
positive.
you know, talking about the rest of the show. So we seen Gina end up going home. I'm sorry. We seen Gina end up going home, and we seen her with her husband, and she looked so happy.
She's tiny.
So happy.
Pure joy being able to work out with her husband and feel good about herself, and even almost beat him, you know, when she was running up the stairs. She was almost beating him. You know, for you guys, you know, I know you are married. I don't know what your dating life is like, but you know, we all have, you know, either been in relationships or dating or whatever it be. Does weight play, you know, an important role in your relationship? Have you ever dated somebody who was overweight or skinny, or have you ever been overweight and maybe you felt insecure about dating? Or,
you know, I could say for a fact that it definitely plays a role in your relationship because of how you feel about yourself. Like, I know from my personal experience, when there was a time when I was working out nonstop, I was like a machine. I had my routine. And then when there was something that came along, an injury came along and threw me off my path, and like you said, it's 80% mental. Oh my gosh, when you said that, I couldn't agree with you more. And unfortunately, that's the side that took the best of me, and I was so upset about my injury that I wasn't working out as much. And it's funny because maybe I gained, you know, in the beginning, I gained maybe 5 pounds. And when you're so used to working out all the time and you stop for a little while, 5 pounds, you feel like you're huge. And I think that's what pisses me off now, is that at the time it was like, oh my God, I've gained 5 pounds, or like I'm getting off track. And that mentality made it worse, you know, made me more depressed. And then there's the person in my relationship that has to listen to that and has to deal with that. And they're the ones sitting there looking at me and saying, like, you look beautiful still, you look gorgeous, like, what's your problem? And it's sad because when you see, It's sad because I get it now. I think when I look back at that time, and I think how like sad it must be to watch somebody think that about themselves when it's really not the reality of the situation.
Well, Lo, can I tell you, whatever size you're at, being on the show with you for weeks and weeks and weeks, you are beautiful inside and out.
Agreed.
Thank you.
And if you guys haven't seen her, go to YouTube. If you're just listening to her on iTunes, go to YouTube and look at her. She is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
Can I get a round of applause for that?
Thank you. I'll clap to that. My point is that how you feel about yourself really, it affects your relationship. And I know if I'm with somebody and with my husband, and if he doesn't feel good about himself, it hurts me. It makes me sad. And all you're thinking is that, how can I make this person feel better about themselves? But the reality of the situation is it starts with you. Yeah. And you need to do it for yourself. And so, you know, do it for yourself, and that will, I think, directly affect your relationship.
And I really like to see when couples are take walks together.
Yeah.
They do it together.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely.
I think that's great for the marriage. I think that's great for the relationship. It's great for you to bond with your kid. Like if you're an overweight mother with an overweight daughter, you guys should walk together. You know, walk and talk, get to know each other, do it together because there's no pill that's going
it's a great bonding experience.
I know my father recently got diagnosed with diabetes, and it kind of hit the family hard because my mom she has a lung disease, so she's sick. And, you know, I tell him, I'm like, listen, Dad, we already have one sick parent. We can't lose you. Like, we need you. Mom needs you. And unfortunately, I don't live on the East Coast, so I can't work out with him all the time. So, but when I do go home, I do work out with him, and I try to coach him over the phone and motivate him. And now we kind of found, you know, a connection. We didn't speak as much as we do now, but we are able to form a bond through fitness and health because of his diabetes. So, you know, like you were saying, it's really important whether it's a relationship with somebody you're dating or somebody in your family or just a friend. If they need help, you know, be that person to help them, be that community that they need, that shoulder to lean on, do it together. It's going to help them, inspire them, and motivate them.
So I wonder what we're going to see from these contestants next week, because now they've been home for a while.
They have.
And they've had these, hopefully they've had these support systems that we're talking about.
Oh, they definitely have, because I've been trying to get them to call in all these weeks, and NBC's like, they can't, they're so busy, and they have all told me they are busy doing this last minute like preparation for the finale.
But you know, you guys listening out there, don't you worry, because we are going to be at the finale next week. So
I'm so excited.
will be giving you an inside scoop exclusive for AfterBuzz TV. So we'll be able to.
AfterBuzz TV exclusive.
Loving the sound effects. Yeah. So we don't get to talk to them now, but we'll be able to see next week at the finale and be able to report back Monday night at the show of everything and all of everything that went down.
And Jackson better throw up on that stage.
Oh, no.
Please don't.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, no.
Okay, so let's move on to predictions. Let's predict for the finale.
Wow.
This is what we've been waiting for predictions.
serious.
We are here 11 weeks in. Start us off, Lo.
Okay, I'm going to stick with my girl, Danny, because I have all the faith in her. I didn't know in the beginning if she would be the one to win because she is such an athlete. She's got all this muscle, so I didn't know. But I'm going to have faith in her, and I love her. And I'm going to also predict that Jackson is the third one voted in, which I am so happy about that because for the first time, Danny and Joe will not be neck and neck.
Yes.
Right.
And who will you predict to be the at-home winner?
The at-home winner, ooh, that is such, I couldn't even guess. But, you know, Gina has a good start on everybody because she's been at the ranch the longest. But I would love to see someone like my old-time favorites, Kate and Lisa, come back and kill it.
Nice. What about you, James?
Well, I would love to say that I would like to see Danny win because I do think she definitely deserves. They're all deserving, but Danny just seems to have this extra edge that would just make her an overall well-rounded tongue twister contestant to win The Biggest Loser. However, I don't think she has any more weight to lose as much as the other contestants. If I had to predict a winner, I would have to say Jeff at this point. I think he has a lot more weight to lose, and I definitely want to have him. He's already making the Midwest and my home state, Michigan, very, very proud. But I would love to see him win. I would be very excited. He reminds me a lot of Jeremy Brett, who won last season. He's also from Michigan, had a lot more weight to lose, but he wasn't necessarily the one that people thought was going to win. So I have to predict Jeff as the biggest loser of this season. And as far as the third contestant in the finale, I'm going to say Jackson as well, because I think his storyline and just personality has been a lot more relatable to an audience, and I'm more excited to see him than I am Joe every week. No offense to Joe. But I have to say Jackson's the third contestant in the finale. And at home, I'm going to have to say Michael. I think he's had a lot of weight to lose.
Oh, I forgot about Michael.
I love Michael.
You would have loved Michael.
Michael's great.
Yeah.
He left at a really unfortunate time.
With his baby,
with
too.
so much weight to lose still. And I think that he is going to use the moment he was voted off as a fuel to really push him to lose the weight.
To show
but I would like to see Gina win. Gotta say.
And the cultured athlete. What are your predictions? Who do you think is going to win the whole finale?
As a cultured athlete, I would love to go with Joe, but
Joe's not. Well, we don't know if Joe's even going to be in it though.
okay, well,
But he could.
Danny,
You're right.
I'm gonna side with you and say Danny, just because she's
Really? I thought you were going to say Jackson.
No, just when women, there's something, women, she went in there, she lost all that weight as a woman, she's looking good now as a woman. Like, that's
He's
huge.
winning points
Fit
with
chicks-
us. That's what he's
Fit
doing.
chicks are in these days.
Yes, they
Fit chicks
High
are
five
in
to that.
these days. They Instagram pictures of them in the gym doing squats and losing
They
all
drink
this weight.
protein
That's
shakes.
huge. Yeah, I don't hang out with girls that drink protein shakes. That's scary.
He hates when I drink protein shakes.
I'm sitting there drinking a iced tea or something. She's just sitting there with a protein shake. I'm like, who's the athlete? Me or you? That's cool. But yeah, I'm rooting for Danny, and for the home challenge winner, definitely Gina. She has.
Nice.
She has all my vote.
All right, so I love Joe. He's not going to win. He's not getting voted in. I think Jackson's going to get voted in. I love my Danny. I really hope that she wins, but I honestly think that Jeff is going to win. I feel like his story is compelling, and Jackson's great, but I think Jeff, he has changed the most. He gained the most from this whole competition. For the at-home winner, I'm going to say Michael. I forgot all about him.
That's a good one.
He had a good story, so that's my predictions. You guys out there listening on iTunes, on YouTube, and AfterBuzz TV, please comment and let us know, who do you predict the final person is going to win for the finale. We want to hear your predictions. I want to hear your stories of what story motivated you the most, what person, you'd love to see come back for the at-home winner. And thanks again for tuning in with us for 11 weeks. We hope that you guys will continue for the final weigh-in that we are going to have live next week. You guys out there that have been doing the at-home weigh-in challenge on, the biggest...
We?
As in us. As in us. And
I thought that was over.
No. I'm going to bring the scale next week, and we're going to weigh in, and we're going to get our final numbers for the Biggest Loser challenge that we are doing at home. You guys, thanks again so much. I'm Fallon Mercedes. You could catch me on Twitter at Miss Mercedes. And where can they find you, Brandon?
Twitter at Cultured Athlete.
And you can find me at @low_Vias or on Instagram at @lowvias.
And I'm James Wallington on Twitter at James Wallington, WALLINGTON, and on Instagram at MRJamesWally.
And we will see you next week. Make sure to follow us on our Instagram, our Twitters, because again, we're going to be at the finale, giving you those exclusives. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.